Hey, Dr. Greg here, and on today's episode of The Daily Dose with Dr. Greg, I am with Eric, one of our communications directors, and we're going to talk about playing offense. Now, offense is, I tell people all the time, it's way better than playing defense with your health. And a lot of people are saying, gosh, I don't have Hashimoto's, I don't have Lyme disease, yet what else can we do? By the way, I don't have Hashimoto's or Lyme disease, and I take a lot of steps. So we're actually going to do a little inside journey into what do I do for my health and for my family to keep us as well as we possibly can, especially with all the crazy stuff going on, whether there's a virus or a pandemic or whatever is going on. We want to empower people about what are the things that are out there. So Eric has prepared some questions for me, and I hope that this can be a wonderful asset to you as you're listening to this. So, ready? Let's rock and roll.
All right. Yeah, I think in general, and maybe a lot of people are talking about this right now, probably because there's just, as every year, there's some kind of virus blowing through, probably a common cold or something along those lines. And of course, it's funny you're talking about playing offense because it tends to be the defensive of after the fact we're getting sick or we're seeing everyone around us getting sick, then we're starting to wonder, what do I do to not get sick? So
it's kind of like Christmas, right? We didn't budget for Christmas. Well, last I checked, Christmas comes every December. And kind of this cold flu season kind of has its time, So we're shooting this episode at the end of the summer here, but the reality is we're walking into that season. However, with kind of what's going on in the world, that season kind of seems to be like a little bit more frequent gig going on right now.
Yeah, it really seems like it. And I think, one of the first questions that probably is coming to anyone's mind is there such a thing as building up a stronger immune system to be less susceptible to this stuff?
Yeah.
Or is it all genetic?
The more we learn about functional medicine, the more the answer to any question is, that depends. Right? We really know very little about the body. And the more that we learn, the more that we are amazed. I actually probably unlearn as much as I learn now. So can there be genetic predispositions for certain people that have altered immune systems? Unquestionably. Now, that's more of the exception and not the rule. So let's not go down that bunny rabbit trail. What I do know, and even the research is pretty black and white, that there are unquestionably things that we can do from a dietary standpoint, from a mindset standpoint, from a movement standpoint, from a supplemental standpoint, that can unquestionably change our immune system. We're going to talk about those today.
Yeah, I pulled out my phone here to kind of get into some of the regular questions, but maybe I'll do it this way. I think people often wonder, what does Dr. Greg do? So are there any secret supplements that you're taking? Are there any secret diets that you know?
Jumping right towards the jugular there, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think the first thing, before I even talk about the supplements or the diet, I want to talk about the mindset. We're not afraid of a cold in our house. We're not afraid of the flu in our house. Now, who likes to throw up? Nobody.
Yeah.
However, we're going to make it through. So number one is we're not afraid. We don't walk around in fear. We are not like on edge, worried about what's going on and worried about something that we have absolutely no control over. So we believe, and I've been married to my wife for almost 20 years. We have 5 beautiful kids, that the body is designed to be robust. The body is designed to have this health. And two, if I sat and worried about the world and worried about things that I have no control over, that in and of itself decreases my immune system. So number one is the mindset. Okay, now, food. So what we know, so there's this direct correlation between inflammation and your immune system. So the question then is, what foods directly cause inflammation? Probably the number one group of foods that people don't talk a lot about that cause inflammation are damaged fats. So things like vegetable oil, corn oil, canola oil, deep fried foods, fats from commercially raised fish or beef or pork. Those fats cause inflammation. Chronic inflammation in the body decreases the immune system. Now, the other one that everyone knows about is sugar. I mean, sugar, high fructose corn syrup, sugar, this unquestionably causes inflammation in the body. And a lot of us know that. I actually saw a billboard many years ago, and it said, fat doesn't make you fat, sugar makes you fat. And I was like, whoa, there's a big shift, because if you're listening to this and you were alive in the 80s, they're like, nope, fat's the culprit. So, so it's kind of more what to avoid. So then if those things can cause inflammation, what are the things that can take away inflammation? Now, so if beef raised in a feedlot can cause inflammation, oddly enough, a beef, and if, I'm not trying to tell you to eat beef, but beef that is grass-fed, free-range, organic, the fat in that actually takes away inflammation. Because what did that cow eat? A bunch of grass and alfalfa to allow it to do its thing. So if vegetable oil and canola oil are bad, then what oils are good? Well, especially olive oil or avocado oil, or even certain grapeseed oil in some cases can be okay as well. So the healthy fats, avocado, we don't want olives, we don't want to be fat phobic, because every cell in our body has a double layer of fat around it. So we are not fat phobic in our house. We also don't hunker down on a bunch of treats, because that definitely alters our immune system. The other thing that I'm a big fan of, so just so you know, my mom is 100% German. So therefore, we at all times have sauerkraut in our refrigerator.
Interesting. Okay.
Like legit sauerkraut. Like, by the way, if you buy sauerkraut at the grocery store and it's not refrigerated, there's no bacteria at all in it. Zero, zip, zilch. Because if there was bacteria in it and it wasn't refrigerated, it would literally explode the jar because of the fermenting process of it.
Crazy.
And I think I'm going to teach a class on how to make your own sauerkraut. It's actually super easy to do, but there are all kinds of good sauerkrauts, or kimchis, which is a Korean version with some spice to it. It's healthy for your gut. So I would say that we do that. We don't really do processed food. We don't drink sodas. So that's from a dietary standpoint, I would say that. Now, from a supplement standpoint, number one, lowest hanging fruit is good quality vitamin D. Now, let me say this about vitamin D. A okay vitamin D has one ingredient, and that's vitamin D3. A better vitamin D product has two ingredients, that's vitamin D3 and vitamin K2. The product that we use clinically in our home has 21 ingredients. So it has all the cofactors that drive it into the body. There's actually a body of research that shows that vitamin D less than 55 is strongly associated with breast cancer in women.
Wow.
There's actually been even some anecdotal evidence that shows that that adequate levels of vitamin D are more powerful than the flu shot for influenza. So low-hanging fruit, but make sure you're taking the right stuff. And also, I'm a huge tester, right? So I always say don't guess, test. So if you do test, your optimal levels are between 80 and 100 on the blood test. Now, if you want to put some more horsepower, I'm a big fan of liposomal curcumin and liposomal vitamin C. We know that those are both very, like for example, vitamin C is very antiviral in its role, and curcumin is very anti-inflammatory in its role. You heard me talk a little bit about sauerkraut. Well, sauerkraut has beneficial bacteria. So we have another product that we call Pure Gut Health, and it has a plethora of things in it. Number one is it has probiotics, and there's a lot of probiotics in this world, but it also has the prebiotics, so it feeds it. And then most importantly, in my opinion, it has phages. So a phage is it's a combative bacteria that will inject itself into a bad bacteria, injects its RNA into a bad bacteria and literally blows that bacteria up. So a phage is like a natural antibiotic.
Wow.
So Pure Gut Health has that. And also, Pure Gut Health has a specific strain of a probiotic that is in the very well-done research for the pandemic, for all those things. So from a supplement standpoint, and by the way, I'm not a big multivitamin guy, just because a good diet can typically give you what you need from that aspect. And then I do want to circle back to the whole mindset thing, right? So number one, we don't fear. But now here's the thing, but I also take action, right? I eat well, I move, but not only that, so let's talk about the mindset component. So we know that there's a part of your nervous system, when it's stressed, it goes into fight or flight mode. And when you're in fight or flight mode, you are a sitting duck for infection. So the number one thing that we know about in the world of functional medicine for taking your body from fight or flight mode into rest and digest and heal is actually breath work.
Interesting.
Using the breath. So I'm a big fan of box breathing. So an example of box breathing is take a count of 4. And by the way, you want to do nasal breathing for this. So you breathe in for a count of 4, and then you hold the breath in for a count of 4. You exhale out of your nose for a count of 4, and then you hold that exhale out for a count of 4, and that's one box. And I would tell people to string 20 of those together twice a day. That's actually one of the best known ways to take your body from fight or flight into like, I'm good. So breath work is super powerful. I love Wim Hof's work, breath holds. I also love what Wim Hof does with cold exposure. So cold showers or cold dunks, they are absolutely known to spike your immune system. So I actually have a patient right now, I think he is every single day he's taken a cold shower for like 5 months in a row.
Wow.
And it's kind of like a rite of passage and he loves it, but it does boost the immune system. So those are kind of trying to think of other things that we might do, but that's definitely our go-tos. And in hearing this, a lot of these things don't cost anything.
Yeah.
Or very, very little. And I think a big part of people listening to this is they just want to be equipped. Like, just give me some ideas of what to do. Because, and no disrespect to the government or the pharmaceutical world, they're like, there's nothing you can do. Or the things that they do, you may be like, I don't know what I think about doing that, or I don't want to do that, or I've heard that people have had adverse reactions to doing some of those things. I get that. So we always want to play offense. Like, what are the things that we can proactively do for ourselves and our loved ones because here's the other thing. When you take vitamin D and you eat good quality meat and you go for a walk, because I think movement's really important also, but don't go train for a marathon because that can be the other side. But just knowing that you're doing those things can even take that emotional aspect of saying, I'm robust. And it can make you feel that way, which is super important. So there you have it. So hopefully if you're listening to this, we've given you some actionable items, and the hope is to give you information that you can have. So if you have questions, send us some questions on this. Also, speaking of vitamin D, if you go to any place that you listen to podcasts and give us a 5-star review, leave us a nice comment in there, we will put you in a drawing. In every single episode, we're going to give away a bottle of DV3, which is my go-to vitamin D, the one that has 21 ingredients in it. So give us a 5-star review, and also share this with your friends because this is amazing information and this needs to get out there. So that's a wrap. Have an amazing day.